What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and today we'll be going over every single scenario in Marvel Champions, and I'll have to pick one card that I'm the most wary of in that scenario. So, for example, for Rhino here, we're going to look at all of his cards, and then which card in his encounter deck is the one that I am the most scared of. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with my picks. This is entirely my opinion. It's just a card that I am the most scared of whenever I'm playing a specific scenario. So it's going to be like the most dangerous card or like the worst card to deal with, in my opinion. We're going to be only going over the encounter set, not the modular sets. Every scenario has recommended modular sets, and some scenarios will have like a modular set that is required, but we're not going to be talking about the modular sets. This will be only for each scenario. And hopefully this video will be helpful for you guys whenever you are playing games in Marvel Champions, because sometimes there's just that one card, in the encounter deck that is really tough and can end a game like right away. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it here. We're going to start off, from the core set, going down the line for every single scenario in Marvel Champions. So let's start off here with Rhino. Okay, Rhino is not the most difficult villain. I already know what comes to my mind, and that's definitely going to be Charge here. That's the card that I'm most scared of whenever I'm playing against Rhino. So this is just an attachment. So whenever you reveal it, you just attach to Rhino. He gets +3 attack, and he won't do anything right away. But as a force interrupt whenever Rhino attacks, so basically the next time whenever he would attack you, that attack has overkill. So that's pretty tough because if you block with ally, that excess damage is dealt over to your identity. And at the end of this attack, you just card the charge. So it's only for one attack. So, this isn't the worst card in the world because if you reveal it, nothing immediately bad happens. But that next attack is going to be pretty rough. You can't really block with ally. And +3 attack is a lot of attack for Rhino. On expert mode on stage 3, he has a base attack of 4. So that's hitting with 7. Plus, he'll get a boost card, right? He doesn't really have, super high boosts. But, if he gets like a 2 booster, he could be hitting for 9 with overkill, which can be tough. This is the first, villain in Marvel Champions. So it's not really that bad, but this is definitely the card to look out for Rhino, in my opinion. Next, let's jump over to the second scenario, which is Klaw here, also in the core set. Klaw for me is a weird one. I'm gonna actually go ahead and say Sonic Boom, and really just because it's very annoying, more so than like tough to deal with, I guess. His activation card here isn't that bad. So Claw's Vengeance is an activation card where you reveal an alter ego. He doesn't even scheme. He uses a random card from hand, which is way better than allowing the villain to scheme. And if this is revealed in hero form, then Claw will attack you, which is bad. But the attack deals damage, plus 1 threat on the main scheme, which is also bad, but not the worst. I think it's not, that terrible of an activation card. The Sonic Boom here is just super annoying. So whenever it's reviewed, you have to choose to either spend one of each resource type. And if you can't, you have to pick the other option, which is to exhaust each character you control. If you can't do that, then you have to pick the first option, right? It's just whatever you can fulfill the most. So yeah, that is really annoying. Losing 3 resources is pretty tough for any hand. Or whatever resource generators that you have down on the table, or exhausting each character you control is really tough if you have like a bunch of allies, right? Because then your identity gets exhausted, all your allies get exhausted. This is a very annoying card, and the boost effect here is also super annoying. So if this activation deals damage to you, exhaust your hero. Oftentimes, Claw has a low base attack, right? It's just 0 here, 1 here, and 2 here. So maybe you're like, oh, because I do this all the time, where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take this, hit to the face from Claw. Maybe he'll get some low boosters, and then you get the Sonic Boom here, where you take damage and you have to get exhausted, which is very, very nasty. So yeah, this is a card that I would look out for when I'm facing Claw. Next, we have Ultron, the capstone villain from the core set. And Ultron's definitely a more difficult villain. I would definitely say Concussive Blast, but that's not a part of his actual encounter deck. I do want to go over it because it's something to really look out for. It's going to be all the way in the bottom here. So Concussive Blast is for the under attack module set, which is recommended when you're playing Ultron. The one review effect is not too terrible. Deal 1 damage to each friendly character. But the boost here, you get as a boost, and you're blocked with the ally, and the ally has 1 hit point left. The boost resolves before the attack. So deal 1 damage to each character you control. This is the most worrisome card for me, because if I'm chump blocking with allies, which I usually do, the ally will get defeated, and Ultron's attack will get redirected at me. And, it's going to hurt a lot, because Ultron is a pretty strong villain. So yeah, that's a card to look out for. But for the rules for this game, we're not going to take a look at modular cards. So let's take a look back over to Ultron here. I think Ultron is probably just going to be, yeah, I think it would just be his activation card here, right? So most villains, not every single villain, will have a standard activation card. Ultron is going to be the Rage Ultron. And when you review this treachery, if you're an alter ego, usually the enemy will scheme. And if you're in hero form, then enemy will attack you, right? So when reviewing alter ego, Ultron will scheme. But as a secondary effect, Discard the top card of your deck for each threat placed this way. Yeah, that is bad on top of the scheme. And if this is reviewed in hero form, Ultron attacks you, discard top card of your deck for each damage dealt by the attack. So yeah, that was pretty annoying as well. And you know, even if you don't take damage, like if you have a tough stats card, damage is still dealt to you. So you have to mill a bunch of cards if Ultron deals a bunch of damage, right? So yeah, this is a pretty annoying card. Definitely the card that I'm looking out the most for whenever I'm playing against Ultron. Okay, so let's jump over to the next scenarios, which is the Green Goblin scenario pack here. So we have Risky Business. Risky Business is a super easy scenario. Probably the worst thing is just like the one reviewed for like stage 3 where you do 4 damage, I mean, to each player. That's pretty rough because it's unavoidable damage, right? It's not like, I mean, a tub will block it, but you can't block with an ally or something like that. So, but I would say for the encounter card, I mean, he doesn't really have that bad encounter cards. They're all like pretty chill. Um, Place 2 infamy counters on Criminal Enterprise if you can't remove 2 max counters. That's not too bad. Even his activation card, right? Mad Genius is a treachery. It's not that bad, right? When reviewed and then he's in the Green Goblin form, he attacks a hero with the fewest hit points. If you're an alter ego or if you can't attack, no attack was made, then his card will gain Surge. I mean, it's not that bad because in Surge something else is not that bad, right? When reviewed and he's in normal Osborn form, you discard top card of your deck for each infamy counter on Criminal Enterprise. Also not that bad. I might just give it to it though, just because like, I mean, you could give it to the hazard icon, but it's only 2 per player threat, which is pretty low. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty easy scenario. I think I'll just give it to the activation card here if I had to pick, but honestly, I'm okay with any of these cards. Probably like Advance or like Shadow the Past from the standard set is more scary than any of his actual cards. Let's move on to Mutagen Formula here, and this is definitely a more difficult scenario. So, Mutagen Formula has some tough cards. This is a really easy card to deal with though, right? It's just attachment. After he attacks you, you discard it and you take 2 indirect damage. That's not bad at all, because when you review this, it doesn't do anything. So that's probably the easiest card. If I were to say the most difficult card, ooh, okay. Yeah, the Death from Above and Overconfidence. One of these two for sure. So Death from Above, if you're playing him and he's on stage 3, because, you know, that's like X from the final stage, he'll scheme with plus X scheme, which is 3, equal to his stage number. Same whenever you use hero form, he attacks, right? So his standard activation card is pretty rough. At worst, he's getting plus 1 scheme and plus 1 attack if you're playing him in standard mode for stage 1. But if he's on that, you know, that stage 3 here, you know, he's going to add 3 to the scheme or attack, which is pretty brutal, but I think I'm going to still give it to Overconfidence. I hate this card, guys. So this is a treachery here, and it's a pretty standard activation card as well. He has 2 different activation cards, which is pretty trippy. So when viewed in Alter Ego, Green Goblin schemes. Okay, that's already bad. If at least 3 threat was placed by his activation, which it most likely will be, unless he's confused, this card gains Surge, and activation on top of Surge is horrific, guys. That is not good. And when viewed in hero form, similar effect, Green Goblin attacks you. If at least 3 damage was dealt by the activation, this card gains Surge. The worst thing about this is that even if you block with the ally or if you have like a tough stats card, the damage is still dealt to you, guys. It's, or not to you, but like damage is still dealt, right? If it's dealt to ally or dealt to the player with a tough stats card. So it's probably going to Surge either way for either activation. So like to take an activation on top of Surge, terrible card. This is definitely the roughest card for Mutagen Formula in my opinion. Let's jump on to the Rise of the Red Skull. So we have Crossbones here as the first scenario in this box. Oh, I already know which one I'm picking for Crossbones, guys. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's Weapon Master. Weapon Master is a module. Okay, never mind. He has the activation card, where basically he's gonna activate like he schemes or attacks, but then if he has a weapon attached to him, it's gonna surge. That's definitely the worst card that I look out for. But it's not in his actual encounter set, so I don't know which one here. This is also a pretty easy scenario. I don't think there's any card that's like super nasty. Maybe the machine gun. I mean, he starts off with that if you're playing on expert mode, because his one review here is to get that machine gun. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't think there's really anything that bad. Yeah, I'm gonna just give it to his attachment here, the Crossbones machine gun here. Maybe I shouldn't have said that rule where you can't pick a module. I would just say the machine gun here is Crossbones' worst card. Next, let's move on to Absorbing Man here. He's also a pretty easy scenario, but I think there is one card that is pretty annoying. Let's see. Ooh, this card, Stall Tactics. Okay, so really quick with Absorb Man, for his main scheme, after resolving step 1 the villain phase, you place 1 delay counter on this card, and that just happens like continuously, right? Every single time the villain phase, you resolve that step 1, you just place a delay counter. So those can really stack up, right? Those delay counters. So you kind of want to end him kind of quickly. And if you get this card here, where was the card we're just looking at? Oh, right here. Stall Tactics. One review, you place 1 threat on the main scheme for every 2 delay counters on the main scheme. So if no threat was placed this way, it was against Surge. So if this Surge, that's fine. But basically, if there are, let's say, like 10 delay counters and you review this card, you just put 5 threat on the main scheme. Obviously, it's going to be a long game to get 10 delay counters, but because, this is a pretty easy scenario, but I guess this would be like the one card that can be kind of dangerous if you let the main scheme right here get to like, 10 or 11 threat, and you're like, okay, like he won't scheme me because there's no more advances, like maybe I won't lose, and then you like get stall attacks, which places like, 2 or 3 threat or something like that. That could be game ending. I think that's the worst card here, in my opinion, for Absorb Man. Next we have Taskmaster, also a pretty easy scenario here from the Rise of Red Skull. Yeah, I don't know. These are some pretty chill cards. Maybe his training camp with the hazard, 4 spawns when a minion enters play, give it a tough status card for a side scheme. But like only 2 threats, so low, guys. That's so easy to take care of. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's pretty easy here. I mean, this is like the easiest activation card that you can deal with, right? Because when you're an alter ego, you discard top 5 cards of your deck. If a Thor event was discarded, he schemes. Discarding is, kind of annoying. But if you get lucky and you don't get those, you don't get a Thor card, then like he'll do nothing. You just card 5 cards, which is way better than activation. Same for hero form, but it's gonna be an attacking, right? If you were using hero form. I don't know. I think that's not that bad. Maybe I just give it to activation card. Yeah, okay, we're just give it to activation card. I'm gonna pick Mimicry as my I think this is the worst card here, because yeah, I mean, usually you'll probably lose an attack card, right? So then you lose top 5 cards of your deck, and then he'll also attack you. So if you lose something else that's really like powerful, like a Nick Fury, that could stink. Yeah, I mean it's not that bad, but this will have to be my pick here. Next we have Zola. Okay, Zola definitely. Oh, I already know what I'm picking with Zola. Zola's a difficult scenario, and we're gonna go with Mind Ray. Oh yeah, I hate this card. This is his standard activation card right here. So Treachery, when reviewing Alter Ego, Zola schemes, and you get confused. Why you gotta confuse me when you're already scheming? When reviewing Hero Form, he attacks you, and you get stunned. So it's like that double effect for both sides. Definitely one of the worst activation cards here, the Mind Ray. So I'm gonna give that to Zola for his most difficult card. For the Captain Villain, we have Red Skull here. Oh, Red Skull has a sleeper card here. Would I give it to this? I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to Spreading Lies here. So Spreading Lies can like come out and be really powerful. It's a treachery when review plays 2 threat on each scheme in play. So it's kind of like a master plan, except it will always trigger because you always put 2 threat on the main scheme. But if you don't take care of Red Skull's side schemes, and let's say you have 1 or 2 side schemes out, this might add 4, 6, 8, 10 threat. Yeah, that can be a super tough card. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Spreading Lies here. Yeah, I think that's the most difficult card. Bitter Rival can be annoying as well if there's a bunch of side schemes, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to Spreading Lies here. Yeah, the threat is just really annoying, and then you have to clear all the side schemes off. If you don't, then Red Skull will keep on ramping up with playing cards like this that do more abilities based on the amount of side schemes that he has, right? So yeah, let's move on to the next scenario, which is Kang here, the Kang scenario pack. So Kang is a weird one. Future weapon is similar to the charge from Rhino, where it's just an attachment on Kang, gives him some bonus attacks, and that next attack will have overkill. And afterwards, I mean, he also stuns you if you take the damage, and then after attack you discard it. Yeah, that's bad, but I think the obligations are worse. But the question is, which one? I think it's either going to be depowered or time travel hunks. So depower is the obligation when it enters play, it just stays in your game area. And you cannot play identity specific cards, right? So that is pretty rough. You basically can't win the game most of the time if you can't play your identity specific cards. So you have to get rid of this. The only way to do that is to be an alter ego to trigger an alter ego action. So you have to flip down, which means Kang can scheme on you. And then you discard a hero card, a identity specific card from your hand, and discard this obligation. So yeah, that's not great. And then time travel hunks is also pretty nasty. It's an obligation as well, so staying in that game area. Whenever it's reviewed, you discard the highest cost card you control, then place it face down underneath it. So it's kind of like a reverse cut off guard, but the highest cost card, which is worse. And then it gets tucked underneath time travel hunks. And as an alternate action, you can discard a energy resource from your hand to get rid of the obligation and discard that card. You know what? Just reading that out, I think I'm gonna give it to depowered. It's not terrible, but you have to flip down to do this action. I think losing the card is worse, but the fact that when you lose a card, you don't necessarily need to get it back to win the game. So you can just like not flip down and just like keep that card tucked there for like the rest of the game, and then you know, just try to power through. But here you kind of definitely need to play those like attack events or door events to like, you know, really get going with your hero. So I would give it to depowered here. Let's move on to Galaxy's Most Wanted, the next expansion here. So we have Drang. Drang is not that tough, I think. Who are we picking here for Drang? The Hazard is not that bad. Oh, he doesn't have that many cards. Okay, Stalwart card is not terrible. I guess maybe the Badoon Engineer, just because it's gonna keep triggering the environment, the Badoon ship here. I mean, it's not that bad, guys. Yeah, this is pretty chill. There is a very nasty minion that he has with his Mojo sets, but it's that minion that, like, I think if you're not engaged with any other minion, when you get this minion, it'll like surge or something like that. That's nasty. Or I think you get another encounter card. But yeah, I think I'll just get to the hazard side scheme here. So like it comes out with hinder 3, you know, per player +1. So in True Souls, it's gonna be 4 threat. And then you can use a first player action, which is like nice, right? Because you can remove 3 threat by exhausting Milano. But let's say the Milano like is already exhausted or like whatever. Then like, I mean, you have to throw out 4 threat. I mean, in True Solo, I don't know, guys. Maybe, I don't know. These are all pretty chill cards. Maybe I just get to the Badoon Engineer. Okay, guys, we gotta pick the Engineer or the side scheme. Let's do the Engineer, because it's gonna, okay, yeah, I mean, but thing is, this thing isn't that. So the environment is that one of the special triggers, you place 1 barrage counter. If there are 4 more, then you do 200 damage to each player. Yeah, that's not bad to celebrate that. Okay, we're gonna give it to this lackluster side scheme here for Badoon's worst card. Okay, next we have Collector 1. So Collector 1 has a ton of nasty cards, guys. I think we're gonna go with maybe Stay a While. So Stay a While here, when you reveal this card and you're in Alter Ego, you have to choose either spend 2 physicals or you put the top card of your deck face up into your collection. And having enough cards in the collection is a lost condition, so we don't want that. But if you're in hero form, he attacks you, and if you take any amount of damage from the attack, you place the top card of your deck face up into the collection. Attacks from the collector is worse because you can't really block. You can block with allies, but you don't want to because then they'll go into the collection because they'll leave play, right? So it's bad when he attacks you because then you'll have to take the damage usually most of the time to the face. And then if you take damage, then you put the top card of your deck into the collection. So either way, you're kind of losing a card in the collection unless you have like a tough stats card. This one is rough to the inconspicuous box, so you just get a card into the collection. You know what? I'm gonna give it to the inconspicuous box because of the boost effect here, right? Because this is just one boost icon, and then the alter ego one is not as bad as the hero form one. If you don't have the physicals, it's bad because you get a card into the collection. But here, you're not getting like the top card of your deck into the collection. You put the lowest cost card you control face up in the collection. So you're losing card that you already like paid for. So that is nasty. And then if you can't do that, it'll surge. So either way, you know, it's not gonna be good. But usually, you know, after turn 1, you'll have something down, right? It could even be like an ally. And the boost, if there are 3 or per player or fewer cards in a collection, so if you're like doing well in the game, you put the top card of your deck face up into the collection. So like, yeah, inconspicuous box takes it for me. Next we have the Collector 2, Escape the Museum. This scenario I actually like a lot. I think it's a lot easier than Collector 1. This one doesn't have that bad. It's probably just going to be his activation card here, right? So I have you now. It's a treachery. When you're in alter ego, you exhaust yourself and he'll scheme. That's pretty nasty. And then when you're in hero form, you are stunned and he attacks you. So similar to Zola there. But it just feels less nasty because he's a easier scenario, like an easier villain than Zola. But definitely, yeah, not a good treachery here from the Collector 2. I actually don't even remember dealing with this treachery. That's how kind of not that painful this scenario is. A very fun scenario because this card is not that fun to deal with. But I know I always have a good time when I play Collector 2. Next we have Nebula. Okay, my arch nemesis here. Any technique, right, guys? Oh, no, no, no. You know what it's got to be? It's got to be lethal intent, right? Because this is a technique. Okay, all right, guys. Okay, so Nebula here. Let's read her thing real quick. The first technique attachment reviewed each round gains surge. Okay, so it's only the first technique attachment reviewed, right? So if a technique is put into play, it won't surge. But basically, you're going to surge on that first technique. Okay, so oftentimes, if you guys know effects that discard cards on top of your deck, you like put into play whatever card is discard, right? It'll be searching for a card, and it'll be like the phrase will be like put that minion into play that you discard or whatever, right? So the way that Lethal Intent works, it's a side scheme, 2 cost side scheme with a hazard. So not too much stuff, but the hazard is nasty. So we do want to deal with it immediately. But the one reviewed here, discard cards on top of the encounter deck until a technique attachment is discarded. Review that card. Why are we revealing the cards that are put into play, guys? Terrible here, especially for Nebula. So you mill this until you get any one of her techniques, which all suck terribly. And then whenever you discard that technique, you reveal it. And then the first technique reviewed each round gains Surge with Nebula's ability. So you get 3 encounter cards essentially, right? You get the side scheme, you get a technique, and then it surges into another encounter card. Yeah, terrible. And if you guys don't know, Nebula's techniques are super oppressive. They all have a constant effect. Like this one, she can't take more than 5 damage from attack. This one, she gains Stalwart. This one, she has Retaliate 1. This one, reduced the amount of damage she takes from each attack by 1. And they all have a special, which will trigger each time she activates. So, yeah, terrible villain, terrible scenario, terrible card. Lethal Intent is worse than any technique because it gets you one technique. It gives you a side scheme. Yeah, that's like 2 things plus a potential surge if it's the first technique, right? So this card takes the cake for me. All right, next we have Ronan. Ronan's scenario that I recently found out that I like a lot. So yeah, let's see what his. Oh, I mean, it's super easy. It's not the universal weapon. This card is rough too, but it's gonna be fanaticism. I think that's an obvious choice here, right, guys? This attachment just comes into play. Remember, with Rhino and Kang, we talk about these attachments. They're not that bad. You review them, they don't do anything immediately, right? So Ronan has +1 attack, and then his attacks will have overkill and piercing. That's really rough. But it doesn't do anything right away. What comes in with 1 counter plus 1 per player additional counter. So in True Solo, it's going to come with 2 counters, right? So he's going to have 2 attacks with that overkill and piercing if you're doing True Solo. And then more, it's going to scale per player. However, for some reason, this has Surge on it. So not only is it already worse than like Rhino's worst card, and one of Kang's more difficult cards, right? That future weapon. But on top of that, you also have piercing on top of the overkill. But then also it has at least 2 activations, right? Because that's the minimum True Solo, but then it will surge. So this calmly surges into activation. So right after he gets this out, where his attack is going to be all buffed up with overkill, piercing, and +1 attack, he'll attack immediately and do tons of damage and completely kill you. So yeah, this card, I think that I think we all agree this is the worst card in Marvel Champions, the most dangerous card, and it is fanaticism here. Yeah, all right. Let's go on to the next scenarios, which is from the Mad Titan Shadow, and Ebony Maw is a scenario here. I think we've got to give it to his spells, right? Like one of the spells, like the worst one. I'm thinking about Rebel Storm is pretty nasty, and then Fireball is nasty as well. Does he have any worse cards? Nope. Okay, yeah. Oh, I don't like this card either, but I think I'm gonna give it to his. Wait. Tashkar cannot ready. I think we'll give it to this card. Restrained. It's pretty nice because it's an exhaustion. You need this specific 2 cards here. Highest attack is usually going to be your identity. Actually, not usually. I mean, if you get it on an ally, it's pretty chill. Never mind. Okay, we're not going to give it to that card. We're going to give it to Rebel Storm. I actually dislike this card worse than Fireball. So, it comes into play, has the 3 invocation counters, and it's going to surge, which is nasty. It doesn't do anything immediately, though. But each time Ebony Maw, right here, whenever he activates against you, remove an invocation counter from each spell in your play area. So he kind of like has those like on ticking time bomb. So Rebel Storm here, it will just stay in play as an environment, and then after the last invocation counter is removed from here, you discard it and you do 2 damage to each character you control. This is unavoidable damage, right, guys? I mean, if you have a tough, it'll block it, but it wipes your board of allies essentially. And even if you have allies that can live it, they probably have like 3 or 4 hit points. So like they'll have 1 to 2 hit points, right? So you can't even activate with that ally. So yeah, this is an ally killing machine, and also 2 damage to your identity as well, right? So yeah, this is not. Yeah, I think this is definitely the worst card for Ebony Maw. Let's move on to tower defense. Okay, this is a very, very easy scenario. The loss condition is if they defeat you. There's 2 villains, and then also if Avengers Tower gets flipped over to the damage side, and then if there's 9 damage on here, then the players lose the game, right? So the worst card is going to be, I think it's going to be the card that just puts counters on it, like damage counters on it. Where is it? Yeah, so Rain Fire. It's not that bad at all. It's definitely like a pretty chill card, but it's a treachery. Whenever you do 3 damage to Avengers Tower, I mean, oftentimes you just get it. It just does that, and then you just keep on going. Nothing really changes. So it could be chill. But if for whatever reason you like are playing risky and you're like allowing damage to be on Avengers Tower, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna lose it because it's easy. This scenario is so easy, and you somehow let this, be 3 damage away from making you lose, and you get this card. Okay, that can cause you lose. If you get like both these like in a row, that could be bad as well. The boost can be nasty as well if the attack defeats an ally. If you're like blocking with the ally, right? You just do 3 damage to Avengers Tower. So yeah, I'll give this card, but at the same time, it's also not super terrible. Especially if you're protecting the Avengers Tower. I think this is the easy scenario in Marvel Champions Tower defense. So yeah, it makes sense why its most difficult card is not that dangerous. All right. Oh, next we have Thanos, the Mad Titan himself. Um, what is? Oh, it's definitely going to be his activation here, the Avatar of Death, right? So the standard activation thing. Whenever you review this in Alter Ego, he just schemes. That's not that bad because Thanos, he's not a big schemer. The Infinity Gauntlet is required with the scenario, so he'll have 2 scheme with the +1 from the Infinity Gauntlet, 3 scheme here and 3 scheme here. So 3 is it's highish, right? So it's not terrible, but it doesn't do anything else whenever he's scheming. But in hero form, he'll attack you and attack us overkill and piercing. So very Ronin-esque there with the fanaticism, like similar to fanaticism I meant. So yeah, that's really nasty because you can't really block the damage from this attack, not even with the tough or the ally. If you have a tough and an ally, then you can block it with the ally, and then the damage will get overkilled over, and your tough will block it because the piercing will hit on the ally if you're blocking with the ally, right? So that could be like a way to prevent that. But other than that, yeah, this card could be pretty nasty because Thanos' attack is pretty powerful, right? And it's still not good in Alter Ego, right? If he schemes, that's still not a good thing. So yeah, I'll give it to the Avatar of Death, definitely. Next we have Hela here. Hela, does this count? This card counts, right? Let me see what else. No, you know what? It's gonna be the Waste of Niflheim. I think this is gonna be the card here. So, one of you take 1 indirect damage. Take 1 additional indirect damage for each side scheme in victory's play. Guys, Hela can really sneak up with, if you have a bunch of side scheme in victory's play, should do you a bunch of indirect damage. No, this is not the card, guys. I'm tripping. It's gonna be Hela's Domain. I'm changing my vote here, or my pick. So this is the worst card in Hela's deck, in my opinion. When a viewer place 1 threat on the main scheme, place 1 additional threat on the main scheme for each side scheme in the victory display. So you're just getting threat on the main scheme. It doesn't matter if she's confused. She's still adding this threat, and it's gonna be at least 1. And depending on how far you're in the scenario, it can add, potentially like 4 or more threat, especially if you have like player side schemes. So it's getting straight threat on the main scheme. I think it's pretty rough. And I mean, her main scheme does have like a crazy high threat threshold, right? 18 per player. She's not a super difficult scenario, but I think that this would definitely be the most difficult card. I mean, even her minions, like even the 6 per player one, it's not that bad. I usually can defeat him whenever he comes in like that first turn. Yeah, side schemes aren't that bad either. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to Hela's Domain here as to like the sleeper card that can suddenly come out and cause you to lose out of nowhere. Next we have Loki, the capstone villain for Mad Titan Shadow. We're gonna go with probably the Trickster, right? Yeah, 3 copies of it. It's his activation card. One of you swap Loki with the Ramses Loki, and he activates. So either in a scheme, if you're in Alter Ego, if you're in hero form, he's gonna attack you. And as a boost, it's terrible as well. You give Loki an additional boost and a tough status card, right? So that's kind of the worst boost effect that you want, because it's not even just like it doesn't do anything. But then like you get another boost on top of it, which could be really bad, like a high booster, and you get a tough. And if you have amplifiers in play, then this does count as 1 boost icon, right? So yeah, and then basically whenever you swap the Loki, if you're planning on doing something with the specific Loki, right? Like let's say you have the Loki has 5 variants here, and let's say you have like a stun on him, right? Because he's like this Loki right here. Well, if you reviews the Trickster, you swap him. He suddenly has Stalwart. You get rid of the stun, right? Because star enemies can't be stunned, and then he'll activate against you, which is terrible. It can definitely mess up your plan if you're trying to play around like the Stalwart. You have tough, and he switches this one. He has piercing. Just a bunch of unlucky stuff can happen here with Loki. So I'll definitely give it to his activation card, the Trickster. I definitely think that most of the time the activation card is going to be usually pretty rough, if not the most rough card in a encounter set. All right, let's move on to the next scenario, which is the Hood scenario pack. I mean, all the Hood's cards are rough, right? Like this card right here is terrible. So basically the Hood, okay, let's read Foul Play here. So he has an ability called Foul Play on all 3 stages. The special, this card, top card in the encounter deck. If it does not belong to the Hood, encounter set, deals yourself as a face on counter card. For stage 2, discard top 2 cards, and then you deal the first card. This card does not belong to the Hood encounter set to yourself as a face on counter card. Essentially, you're just going to surge if you get non-Hood cards. So yeah, basically, you don't want to trigger Foul Play. You get this attachment whenever the hood, as force response after hood activates against you, you resolve foul play. So you have to get rid of this, or she's going to keep on surging on you. And then the only way to get rid of it is with the alter ego action where you exhaust your identity and place 2 threat on the main scheme, guys. So you gotta flip down, potentially, letting him scheme add more threat, exhaust yourself, and put 2 more threat on the main scheme. And then if any of the main schemes pop here, like the first one only has 5 per player threat, right? Then you have to do the one review for the next main scheme, which is to resolve foul play. Very, very nasty, but I don't even know if that's the worst card. Probably just his activation card again, right, guys? Upper hand treachery. When you're an alter ego, he schemes, which is bad, then resolve foul play. Why you gotta do that? Whenever you're in hero form, he attacks you, resolve foul play. Terrible, 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 terrible surging here. Upper hand definitely the worst card in my opinion. Next, we're going on to Sinister Motives. So we have Sandman here. Sandman, he's not terrible. You just don't want to trigger his. So basically, Sandman has the environment city streets, and there's a special on it, Surging Sands, where you place 1 sand counter on it, and then you discard cards on top of the counter deck equal to the number of sand counters here, and you have a hero action that you can trigger to remove the sand counters. But basically, when the sand counters stack up, you have to discard a bunch of cards from the counter deck, which will result in acceleration tokens getting placed on the main scheme here, right? And the force response after an acceleration token is placed here, you do 3 indirect damage to first player, right? So that's kind of what Sandman's all about. He only has this 1 main scheme stage. So you have, a bunch of acceleration tokens, and you're adding so much threat per turn out of this, only 9 per player for like 1 scheme for a scenario that wants to add a bunch of accelerations. I think I'm going to give it to his side scheme. His side scheme is pretty annoying. So the side scheme, it's not terrible, right? It's a crisis icon with only 1 threat, and it doesn't even scale. So you can easily throw it out, right? But one thing to keep in mind is that you have to throw it out because it's a crisis. So if this is in play, you cannot remove threat from the main scheme, and if threat keeps on stacking here, then it'll cause the player to lose the game, right? So you have to get rid of this side scheme. But when it's defeated, you resolve Surging Sands on city streets, and you resolve it again. So basically, you're gonna do a special here. You place a sand counter, discard, at least 1 card equal to the sand counters, right? Then you do it again. So you place another sand counter, and then you discard at least 2 cards. So it's like at minimum, you get 2 sand counters, and you're discarding 3 cards, right? At worst, if there's already like 4 or 5 sand counters, hopefully you didn't let that happen, but that could be so terrible. Discarding a bunch of cards and getting that sand counter like to like a point where it's like very difficult to remove and get rid of them. Yeah, this and stacking the sand counters like 2 in 1 turn is rough as well because you can only do this once per player to remove sand counters from it. Although if you have a character with high attack, then you can remove more counters. But yeah, you definitely don't want the sand counters to stack up that much. So yeah, it's not that bad of a card to be honest, but I think he's pretty chill. So yeah, I think this is probably the most annoying card that I have to deal with here for Sandman. Next we have Venom. Venom easily is going to be Now We're Angry as his worst card. So one thing to keep in mind is the boost effect is to review this card. So essentially this card gets reviewed through a boost and as an encounter card. You want it as an encounter card because like we talked about before with attachments, if it's an encounter card, it just comes out, doesn't do anything, you just attach to Venom, right? It doesn't do anything right away. It's going to be the next time whenever he attacks, his attacks have overkill. So yeah, that's going to be annoying there, right? Because overkill is always a difficult thing. But if you get this as a surprise boost, it's really rough because then, like let's say you block with Al, you don't know what's coming out. He gets this boost card and his attack will suddenly have overkill, which will bleed over to your hero and you take some surprise damage, which may kill. So that's the most difficult thing with this, with Venom in my opinion. And Venom gets tons of boost cards, right? Because with his ability, you get boost cards. You like essentially give him boost cards, like you get it on your identity, but then whenever he activates, he takes all those boosts and uses them, or he flips them. And basically each time you attack and damage Venom with the card you control, you basically get a boost card, right? So that could stack up a lot of damage, and if you get a Now We're Angry with that, pretty brutal. So this is definitely the worst card in my opinion for Venom. Next we have Mysterio, and I believe Mysterio actually doesn't have that many nasty cards in his own encounter set. It's like his modules that are really nasty. Um, I this is weird, but I'm probably just gonna give it to Fearmonger here. So this card isn't even that bad, right? If you reveal it, you discard your hand and you draw back up to your hand size. So like you're essentially just milling, which is good and bad depending if you have like a bunch of good stuff in your hand, and it's gonna surge as well. So you get another encounter card on top of that. Good or bad, you don't know. And then the boost though is either choose to spend 2 mentals or deal this card to yourself as a face-down encounter card. So like, if you get it as a boost, you essentially get a secondary encounter card, or you lose resources, right? So pretty annoying. Just a very annoying card. Like, especially when you drawn up your hand and you're like, okay, I have a Nick Fury in my hand. I really want to play him. And then like you get this or you lose a Nick Fury. You're like, oh man, like I just want to do that. So this is probably the card that I look out for the most whenever I'm playing against Mysterio. Still a pretty easy card to deal with because I think generally his cards in this scenario is not too bad. But yeah, Fearmonger, pretty annoying. Next we have Sinister Six. Sinister Six, I think it's gonna be the expert cards, right? So you have all the Sinister Six facing against you. They like come out, swarm you. Um, it's probably gonna be the card that surges in expert mode. Okay, surprise here. So this is weird. So this only okay. I guess I'll pick one for standard and I'll pick one for expert, right? So one review, you resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. If no villain was put into place, where you place 3 threat on light at the end. So basically, you usually get a villain, and ambush is just choose a set side villain at random, put the villain in play, and place the active counter on it. And in expert mode, you place 2 threat on light at the end. So this is worse in light at the end because you get extra threat on there, and you have to remove that eventually. But the way that surprise works is that you resolve ambush, so you get one of those villains, right? And then you put threat if it's on expert mode, and then this card will also surge and it can't be canceled. So like you like get like the villain gets a free encounter card, which I always dislike. I don't know if I'm gonna have it as my worst pick though, but this is probably gonna be my worst pick for expert mode. For standard, probably just the activation. Um, you know what? I'm gonna change my vote here for both expert and standard, just because I think surprise it can be chill and expert, if it doesn't really do anything else, right? If it's surging something that's chill. I think for me, I think I had experience where I surged a surprise into another surge, which felt really bad. But actually, yeah, Partnership of Pain I think is the worst card here. So if you're using Alter Ego, it's just your standard activation card. The villain with the lowest activation order value, so basically just one of the villains, with scheme of plus X scheme equal to the total scheme of all other villains in play. Their activations aren't that tough because Sinister Six they're pretty weak individually, right? It's like combined where they're powerful. But if you have a bunch of them out, they will combine their scheme and scheme with that, which could be rough. Same for the attack variant, right? If you're using hero form, the villain with the highest activation order attacks you, plus X attack, where X equals to the total attack of all other villains in play, right? So depending on if you have a bunch of these villains out, it could be really high scheme or high attack with the boost card on top of that. But if not, it's not that bad. Lastly, in Sinister Modes, we have Venom Goblin here. And if you guys do not know, Venom Goblin's worst card is definitely going to be from his Mojo Goblin Gear, the Advanced Glider. It's a glider where whenever he activates again on you. Terrible, terrible card, right? Because then it just like doubles activations. It's only limited to once per round, but still super duper nasty. That is a Mojo though, so we're not picking that. I'm probably going to go with We Are One is rough too. I was thinking about going with the Symbiotic Monstrosity here. So as a minion, he is tough because I mean he doesn't have guard, so you could just ignore him. But 2 ski and 2 attack activate every single turn is pretty rough. And if you do want to get rid of him, he's annoying to get rid of because he has retaliate and toughness. So like if you don't have piercing, you have to like knock off his toughness and take a damage back. 6 life is rough. He gets plus 3 more hit points if you're losing the game, and then there's a symbiotic environment in play. But the thing that I worry about the most with this, why I'm always fearful of this card, is with the boost. It's 3 boost icons. So even for a scheme, you don't want that for 3 boost icons. But if this activation is attack for the boost, the attack does indirect damage. And it doesn't even matter if you have like an ally out to block for you, because the ally probably has 1 hit point left. So indirect damage, you have to probably just place it on your hero. At least for me, most of the time, that's the way that I have to deal with this card. And Venom Goblin's already hitting with a base of 3 for expert mode, right? So it's going to be 6 indirect damage. Pretty rough. Yeah, We Are One could be bad as well. Definitely good contention here with the We Are One. So this is just your attachment, right? So we talk about 4 attachments aren't that bad. But this one is plus 3 skin, plus 3 attack, which is rough. But it says hero action, you have to spend 1 of each different resource type. It must be printed to discard this card. The printed thing is so rough, guys, because if you have like a WoD resource generator like the Quinn Carrier, you cannot use that. You have a WoD resource in your hand, cannot use that. It has to be a printed resource. Terrible, terrible. So I mean, it's definitely between these two. I think I'm definitely feel like the Symbiotic Monstrosity is more dangerous because I'm always conscious about this boost effect here ending the game. This card could be bad if like you just get really unlucky you don't have these printed resources, but overall I think the Symbiotic Monstrosity is worse. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to this card here. Next, we're moving on to Mutant Genesis here. Okay, so Sabretooth is the first scenario here, and the worst card for Sabretooth is Um, Probably just his activation card, right? Yeah, I'll just give it to his activation card here. So, Unrelenting Savage, when viewed in Alter Ego, he schemes. If he has no sustained damage, he gets +1 scheme. Not that bad. It doesn't even matter if he doesn't have sustained damage. +1 scheme is not terrible here for Sabretooth. Same thing for attacking you. No sustained damage, he gets +1 attack. So yeah, just your pretty typical activation with the potential to get +1 scheme or +1 attack. You know, a freaking Mutagen Formula will always get at least +1 scheme, +1 attack. You know, so this is easier than that, but this can still be bad. Next, we have Project Wideawake, so with the Sentinels here. Um, yeah, okay, we're gonna go with Immune Detected. So, when reviewed, okay, you either choose to place a top card of your deck face down underneath Operation Zero Tolerance, and you don't want that because that is a lost condition for the player. So we definitely don't want to do that option. But if you don't do that one, you have to pick the one where the villain and each minion engage with you attacks, even if you're in Alter Ego. So if you're in Alter Ego and he's attacking you, he still gets a boost card and each minion attacks as well. That's rough. So maybe we have to pick this one most of the time. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Immune Detected as the worst card here for the Sentinels. Pretty annoying card. Next we have Master Mode here, which is definitely easier. I'm actually probably gonna give it to this minion right here, right? Let's take a look at his other cards. Um, yeah, this isn't that bad at all. Shoots up's definitely not bad. Yeah, we're going with this minion here. So our first minion pick here. So Sentinel Mark 8. I mean, just getting a minion with 8 hit points, 3 scheme, 3 attack. That's rough, guys. This is a big bar to get to deal with, right? 8 hit points is a lot to deal with, and you also need. I mean, he has 3 scheme and 3 attack. So like, if you think about how like tempo works with the player, it'll probably take you a whole turn, like your entire hand, to deal with this one minion, right? Like, let's say you have a swing web kick on like turn 1 or turn 2. Well, it's 3 resources plus the actual card itself, so 4 effective resources. You're losing your entire hand to play that. So you dealt with this minion right with your hand, but in the turn that you review this minion, Master Mode also activated against you, right? So he's building tempo against the player, and you can't even deal with the minion. It's even worse. But he has a force response. After this minion engages you, you attach the topmost Sentinel attachment from discard power to his minion. So if you get this one here, he has 4 scheme for attack with 10 hit points and retaliate 1. If you get like different ones, there'd be like different abilities on it, right? But yeah, this card is definitely the most rough card for Master Mode. Next, we have Mansion Attack. I mean, these are so chill though. I'll probably just pick maybe the Toad one just because Toad's nasty. So like Hopping Mad, when reviewed, Toad activates against you. If he's not in play, search the encounter and discard power for the Toad minion and then reveal him. And why Toad is nasty is because Toad, after he attacks and damages a character you control, even an ally, you just card one random card from hand. Very annoying effect here. Yeah, so definitely we don't want him to activate. We don't want him coming out, even the minion. So yeah, I would pick this card. All right, next we have Magneto. Magneto is so hard because there's so many annoying cards here for Magneto. So I'm gonna give some honorable mentions here, right, guys? Master of Magnetism is a rough one. Whenever you reveal it, it's his standard activation card. But you take the topmost magnetic card in the encounter card discard pile, give it to Magneto as a face-down boost, he activates. So he has this boost plus his normal boost, so he can get 2 boost cards minimum on his activation. If you're an Alter Ego, his activation will make him scheme. Hero form, he's gonna attack. So a double booster on an activation is always going to be bad. So this is in contention, but I don't think it takes it. Wrapped in Metal is another card I want to give honorable mention to. So it's attachment you attach to your identity. You cannot thwart, attack, defend, or recover. So you're like nothing. You can't do anything now. As an action, exhaust your identity and spend a physical resource to discard this card. Terrible. You have to exhaust your stuff and spend a physical. Very rough. But the worst card definitely has to go to Seized. I hate this card, guys. So it is a side scheme. It has 3 boost icons, only 3 per player threat, and then the acceleration here. Whenever you reveal it, each player places the top 6 cards of their deck face down here. So like, not only do you have an acceleration, but you lose like top 6 cards of your deck. And when it's defeated, Manu activates against you, right? Yeah, that is really bad. So often, if you lose like a key card in your deck and you need to get it back, you have to get rid of the side scheme because it'll discard those cards. And discarding is not even good. You don't even get it back to your deck, right? You have to lose those cards like from this deck pass, which is super annoying. And Manu activates against you as well. Super annoying. Yeah, this card is for me, the card I'm looking at the most for. Each time I get seized, I am not happy because there's 2 parts of it. The one reviewed is nasty, the one defeated is nasty. Just a terrible, super annoying card here, but I like the Max. I like the Artwood Gambit and the wrapped in Meadow there being seized. But yeah, this is definitely the worst card for Magneto. All right, next we're hopping over to Mojo Mania at the Scenario Pack, and we have Magog here. Magog, I'm probably gonna give it to Sage Fright. So Magog's activation card here is not too bad. So in Arch Eagle, it's bad because you place 2 range counters on a champion, which is bad because that will make your loss condition, increased because you can lose if there's enough range counters on the champion. But when you're in hero form, Magog attacks you. If a hero defends against his attack and takes no damage, you get 2 range counters on the challengers, which can help you out. So this card can sometimes be beneficial if you have like a high defense set, or like you're playing like a defense build to be able to block out his attack and take no damage. So this can be good and bad. So I'm not going to give to this card. Stage right here is just always bad because when you are confused and you place 2 threat in the main scheme, that's just always going to be bad. And that can make the main scheme pop, which will give him ratings counters. But you get 4 threat instead if there are more ratings counters on the challengers than on the champion. That's even more rough because his main scheme here only has 6 per player threat. But he only has 1 main scheme, but if this does hit 6, you don't lose the game, right? So you don't have to worry about that. But whenever it will be completed, you place 2 per player range counters on the champion and remove all the threat. So yeah, it does accelerate that loss condition of getting enough counters on the champion here, right? Because whenever there are 10 range counters here, Magog wins the game and the players lose the game if you get the range counters here. So yeah, let's move on to Spiral. And Spiral, easy choice here for me. Spiral swords, guys. Comes in with 3 sword counters. It's just attachment, right? So it's like chill. It's like, okay, I don't gotta worry about it, right? It doesn't do anything right away. She gets +1 attack for each sword counter on this card. So she has +3 attack. Hero action is Spiral is on her corner side. You spend 2 physicals to remove 1 counter from the card. Guys, like, when I get this card, I always reread it because I'm like, am I reading this right? So she has to be cornered, right? Spiral flips from her corner in her escape side right here. So you have to get her cornered, which is more difficult than, because she's always on the escape side. You have to actually corner her to get her on this side. So it's more difficult to do. But whenever you do that, you have to spend 2 physical resources to get rid of 1 encounter, and the attachment stays. She still has +2 attack. So, like, I don't know what's wrong with this card, guys. It just feels weird. She has 2 copies of them, so she can get them both. Have +6 attack. You gotta spend, like, what? 2 physicals times 6. 12 physical resources to get rid of both of these cards. Or she'll have, if she has them both, +6 attack. So usually when she gets this, I just leave it on her because it's way too taxing to get rid of. But then, like, it makes it really tough to leave it on her because of the +3 attack. So usually I just have to block it out or something like that, or else like it's like game over. So definitely a really rough card. I do not like Spiral Swords. Lastly, in the scenario pack, we have Mojo Mania. And Mojo, what's his worst card? Ooh, Curtain Call, probably. Okay, so it's a treasure here. When reviewed, move all threat from the character with the most threat on it to the main scheme. If no threat was moved this way, you place 1 threat on each character you control. So the way that Mojo works is that he puts threat on your identity and on your allies. So basically on characters. And then whenever you flip or that character leaves play, you move all threat to the main scheme. Not a good ability, but this will just move all the threat on the character with the most threat to the main scheme. So if you didn't properly like vet the main scheme and remove the threat, this could cause you to lose the game. And if there's no threat to move, you place 1 threat on each character you control, which is rough if you have a bunch of allies in play. So this card is pretty annoying. Mojo really works with the encounter set, or the modules, I mean. So like, he doesn't have like super tough cards, but he is a fair difficult scenario, and a Curtain Call, I think, can be that like RNG factor to really make it, to really like give him like a good win. All right, next let's move on to next evolution here. We have Morlock Siege as the first scenario in this expansion. This is a pretty easy scenario. Yeah, these cards are pretty chill, guys. Yeah, I think I'm giving it here to probably just a side scheme by any means because of the hazard. This is kind of like my go-to when there's nothing else to pick. So, 3 threat side scheme for a hazard icon, it's pretty easy, especially in multiplayer where you have more players to help you thwart. Whenever you place 1 additional threat here for each villain under routed, 1 per player. So if you're doing true solo and you only have 1 villain under routed, it's going to be 4. But if you have like 2 villains, it could be 5, which is like a little bit more difficult. And if you're playing multiplayer, this could really scale up, right? Because it multiplies with the player and it multiplies with each villain under routed, right? So if there's, if there's 0 villains under routed, then it's like not that bad. It just, I don't know. It just depends, but you could get this with a very high threat. So for that reason, I'm going to just give it to this card here. The other cards are pretty chill. I think even this card's not that bad, but yeah. All right, let's move on to scenario number 2, which is on the run here. Is there anything that stands out to me for on the run? Oh, it's going to be the favorite weapon here. So attach a Great or Harpoon. In other words, attach to a Marauder enemy with the lowest attack. So probably going to be the villain. And then attach enemies' attacks will gain Overkill, Piercing, and Range. You guys know overkill is always bad. But his hero response after you defend against attack from the attached enemy takes no damage. You can discard his card. So you have to like essentially take that attack kind of to the face almost in order to get rid of it because it has overkill. So yeah, a lot of things going on with this, but yeah, definitely rough because of the overkill there. Next, let's move on to Juggernaut. Juggernaut, okay. Juggernaut has so I'm gonna say the most annoying card for me is Cytrex Exemplar. So Juggernaut has his helmet here, where he has Star and Overkill, and if you spend 3 resources, you can flip it over, and he'll lose Star and Overkill because you're exposed him underneath that helmet, right? If you do that, and then you get this card right here, when reviewed, if Juggernaut exposes in play, so if you expose them, you flip it over. So let's say you spend 3 resources to flip him over, and then he immediately gets his encounter card. He'll flip back over to its other side, get a momentum counter. Otherwise, you place Star in the main scheme equal to his attack, which is also bad. So this card could be pretty rough. It's pretty annoying. But I have to give the trample here just because it's more game ending, I think. So when viewed in Arch Eagle, you take 200 damage. And when viewed in hero form, he attacks it out with the fewest remaining hit points. And if you don't have any other allies, it's going to be Hope Summers as your only ally. If he attacks Hope and Hope leaves play, the players lose the game. Hope is a required module set whenever you're playing against Juggernaut. So like, yeah, you don't want her to leave play. But here's the thing, if you get this encounter card here, you don't have any other allies, and your heroes are exhausted from like defending or something like that, or it gets exhausted with like exhaustion, and then you get this card, Juggernaut just straight up attacks Hope Summers, and you just lose, and you can't do anything about it. So like this can just pop up and like just end a game for you, which is really rough. And the boost is nasty as well. D1 damage to ally you control. I mean, if Hope is your last ally with 1 hit point, she dies. And if you're chump blocked with the ally and that's like, and you don't want to do damage to Hope, you have to kill the ally and the damage will be redirected to you if the ally only has 1 hit point left, right? So definitely different factors where it can be bad. It's the hero effect that's going to be worse if you're in hero form, I think, especially if you're already exhausted, so you can't block the attack. Next, let's hop over to Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, I think we have to be able to pick one of the this stuff, right? Because these are so ingrained with this scenario. So we can give it to the attachments. I'll give it to Flight as the worst one because it's a +1 permanent setup attachment. And then there's a chance for you to get this when you play a scenario. Attach villains attacks above Overkill. This is definitely why I don't want the most. You guys know Overkill is like the worst thing in my opinion. So yeah, we don't want that. If I had to pick a Sinister card, it's going to be Sinister Schemes. One review, doesn't matter if you're in hero form or Arch Eagle, Sinister Schemes. Because Sinister Schemes, if you have Psionic trait, you are confused. So yeah, you have the potential of getting confused, but also a scheme in hero form is tough, guys, because yeah, it's essentially an advance, right, with an additional thing added on top of that, right, and the boost effect confuses you. So yeah, this card is pretty nasty. Next we have Stryfe here. Oh, I already know which one's the worst with Stryfe. It's gonna be these things. Stryfe has super nasty attachments, and I'm gonna go with the Mind Trap. I think this one sticks out to me. So it's an attachment. And attached to your identity. Your allies, upgrades, and supports enter play exhausted. Okay, very, very bad tempo for the player. As an Arch Eagle action, you have to be an Arch Eagle. Exhaust 3 cards you control to this card's card. Guys, what? What the heck? Okay, Stryfe, if you're doing him on expert mode, his one revealed is you mill from the encounter until you get a psionic attachment and then you reveal it. So you could get this before the game even begins. It's a psionic attachment. If you have it on turn 1, even if you get it on turn 2 or turn 3, you have to flip down to Arch Eagle. If Stryfe schemes out on you, then you lose the game. And you need to exhaust 3 cards you control to get rid of this card. And every card you're playing is already getting exhausted the moment that you like play it, right? So like your allies doing nothing, upgrades doing nothing, support is doing nothing. And then you have to exhaust 3 of them, but they're already exhausted when you play it, so you can't just play them right away and exhaust them, right? This card is so rough. It definitely takes a cake for me as being the worst card here for Stryfe. Basically, I feel like if you get this card, especially very early, then you're kind of like guaranteed. You're not guaranteed a loss, but it's like it's a pretty difficult game. And if you don't get this card, he could be a very easy scenario to face. So I'm not a fan of this card at all. Definitely the roughest card here for Stryfe. Next we have Age of Apocalypse. So we have Unus here as the first scenario here. And I'll probably give it to his Infinite Predate here. So this is his activation card. One of Unus activates against you. So Arch Eagle, he's going to scheme. If you're in hero form, he's going to attack you. And then if the amount threat on Gene Pool is at least 3, you give him a tough. 6, you heal 3 damage. And then 9, you give him additional boost card, right? So it can really stack up, right? You can give him 2 boost cards, a tough, and heal 3 damage on top of the activation, which can be pretty annoying. So Yeah, I'll give it to this card, the activation card here for Unus. Overall, though, he's not that difficult of a scenario. Next, we have the four Horsemen. Oh man, four Horsemen. These guys are annoying, guys. This side scheme is annoying. This stuff is annoying here as well. I think I'm good to the side scheme. So the Ravagers of War is a side scheme with 6 threat. It does not scale in multiplayer, right? So in multiplayer, if you're playing at least 3 or more players, it's very easy to deal with because you have a lot more thwarting, right? A lot more heroes. 2 players, it's like normal, right? It's like that 3 per player. In solo, super duper high because 6 threat for 1 player, especially like if you get on turn 1, is rough. There's a hazard though, so it's gonna like give you extra encounter cards, which you don't want. The one defeated here, the player who defeated this scheme discards an upgrade or support the control. Why are you doing that? That is a nasty one defeat effect. On top of the hazard that you have to defeat, and then the 6th threat here. So yeah, this takes the cake for me for the Four Horsemen's most dangerous card. Next we have Apocalypse here, Apocalypse 1, and it's gonna be biomorphing. Very easy here. So it's a +1 attack attachment. If you reveal it, his attack in overkill. That's rough. If you get it as a as an encounter card, it's not that bad, right? Because he's not doing it that turn. But the boost here is attach this card to Apocalypse. So the boost is where it gets really scary. If you're blocking the ally, he can just get overkill with that attack and then overkill you with +1 attack as well. Yeah, so this card is definitely scary. It can definitely pop out and surprisingly defeat the player. And the only way to get rid of it is with Apocalypse here. Where is it going to say that? On the main scheme. When Apocalypse will be defeated, you discard each attachment from him and heal all damage from him instead. So basically, the only way to get rid of the attachment is to defeat Apocalypse. Not like win the game, but just bring his hit points down to 0. He's going to heal back up, but that's the only way to discard this attachment here. So this is definitely the worst card for APOC 1, in my opinion. Next, we got Dark Beast in this expansion. And it's just going to be his activation card here. So when reviewed in Alter Ego, Dark Beast schemes, give him a tough stats card. So like tough is pretty annoying on top of the scheme. Hero form, he attacks you, give him an additional boost. That is pretty annoying as well to have 2 boost cards. So yeah, this is just a standard activation card for Dark Beast. Evil Genius is going to be my most dangerous card here for this scenario. Next we have Sabah Nur Apocalypse. This is a tough one. I'm probably going to give it to Technological Interface. So there's a treachery here. One review, if Apocalypse is in Cyberpath form, he activates against you. So it's kind of a standard activation only if he's in that one form of his 3 forms. But otherwise, you change him to Cyberpath form and place a power counter main scheme. So power counters is kind of like the mana counters for Magneto. It's like, it's annoying, like mills and counter and like it powers him up. But I hate changing him to Cyberpath form. Let's look at his stage 3. He does similar things for each stage, but on stage 3, for Cyberpath form right here on stage 3, force response after he changes to this form, place 3 threat on each scheme in play. Guys, 3 threat going on a main scheme. If you have 1 side scheme, you're putting 3 threat on that. If you have 2 side schemes, that's 6 plus 3 threat on the main scheme, so 9 threat there, guys. We do not want him changing to Cyberpath form at all, and that card will change him to Cyberpath form. He also, on stage 2, it's 2 threat on each scheme. On stage 1, it's going to be 1 threat on each scheme, so more manageable for the lower stages. But stage 3 one is rough. Either way, I don't want him flipping over to Cyberpath, so I'm going to give it to this card here as the worst card for Sabah Nur, Apocalypse 2. Next, we're moving on to the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're almost done here, guys. We have Black Widow as the first villain for this expansion. And her worst card, I think it's definitely going to be her scheme card. Covert Ops here. So there's a treachery. One of you are confused. Black Widow schemes. So, just basically in advance, except worse, because you always will get confused, and then she's always going to scheme on top of that. So for all the games that advance has ended, Covert Ops will also end the exact same way, and Black Widow's threat is pretty difficult to deal. Well, not like super difficult, I mean, but like, she goes up by X per player per turn. So like, and then X equal to her stage number, right? So you're doing True Soul on X promo, she goes up by 2 threat per turn. It comes in with that 2 initial threat here as well. And her one review is to put, 2 per player threat on the main scheme. So like, she can really stack on threat pretty quickly. So if you give her a scheme on top of that, I mean, she can easily pop down turn 1 if you're not like thwarting right away. So yeah, this is a pretty rough card here. And next we have Batroc. Batroc has a loss condition with the alert level with the environments. If you get enough threat here, then it'll flip over to the higher alert level, and then if there's 4 per player threat here, then you lose the game. So we don't want stuff to accelerate that loss condition. So the worst card for him is probably just going to be the security cameras here. So when this is reviewed in Alter Ego, you remove one threat from the alert level. This card gains Surge. So like it's nice to be able to remove that threat, but then the card will Surge. In hero form, for each character you control, you have to choose either exhaust a character or place one threat on alert level. And if it's already on the high side, you have to put two threat. So like you either exhaust your characters, or if they're already exhausted, you have to pick the one to put threat. So like that could be like a surprise lock condition, I guess. It's gonna be rare, I think, but I mean this can like sneak up and like cause Batroc to win. So I think I'll go with security cameras as the worst card here. But overall, there's a low chance of that happening, and it's a pretty easy scenario to deal with. Just make sure we don't let the alert level flip over to the high side. Next we have M.O.D.O.K. What's M.O.D.O.K's worst card? Definitely not the Adaptoids. We want to see them so we can progress in the scenario and remove those counters. Oh, yeah, it's going to be Psionic Blast here. Easy. His activation card here is very, very annoying. So it's a Treachery. When reviewed in Alter Ego, you are confused. M.O.D.O.K schemes. When reviewed in Hero form, take X indirect damage. X equal to M.O.D.O.K scheme. Confuse each character that takes damage this way. So you probably have to put it on yourself because he has a scheme stat of 3 in expert mode and 2 for standard, right? And then he can also add scheme with his attachments, right? Like this one gives him +1 scheme, +1 attack. Yeah, so yeah, and this one also gives him a +X scheme. So yeah, I mean this card is pretty annoying because it's really the Alter Ego one that we're worried about. In hero form, it's not as bad, but you'll probably get confused and take some damage. I definitely don't like the Psionic Blast though. Next we have the Thunderbolts with Citizen V and the Thunderbolts. This scenario, I don't think the cards are that rough in the actual scenario. I think they're gonna be the Thunderbolt minion modules that are more rough. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, it's gonna be one of these three. I mean, these. So like this one brings a Thunderbolt minion that you have defeated in Victory Display and you bring it back out. And then if you haven't defeated them, it would just surge. So like I don't know, and it only have 5 hit points. If it came back out with like its full like hit points, because a lot of these have like 16 hit points or whatever, then like, it could be rough. But only 5 hit points left. I'm not gonna give it to this card. I think we'll do. Oh man, we'll just do tap in. That's like the standard activation card here for this scenario. Well, not standard, but like the activation card, I mean. So tap is a treasure. When reviewed, you engage a Thunderbolt minion with the least damage that is not engaged with you. The minion will activate against you. So like you'll swap with the minion, and then it'll activate. And some of these minions, some of the Thunderbolts here, have a forced response. I think actually only Batroc. But whenever he engages you, discard card from your hand. So like you have to do that immediately. But they all have like, not all of them, a lot of them have like a nasty effect. Like after he activates, you do 1 damage to each character you control. For Black Widow, after she schemes, then you have to do this effect, right? So it's not a super high chance of getting that effect. And then if no minion activated, then Citizen V activates, which I think is probably going to be worse. I don't know. Sometimes worse, sometimes better. It's not that bad to deal with. But overall, I would give this my vote for the most dangerous card for Citizen V here, the Thunderbolt scenario. And the last scenario for this box is Baron Zemo. Okay, Baron Zemo. Wow, his sword is nasty. +2 attack attachment. If he attacks and defeats a character, you place your counter on the board member environment with a few secret counters. To get rid of it, spend 3 physicals or 3 energies. Yeah, that's a lot. I think I would still give it to it though. It's current ally support. I think. I mean, it could be this card. I think we're gonna give it to a sword here. Yeah, so it's an attachment +2 attack. You give to Baron Zemo after he attacks and defeats a character. You place a secret counter on a board member environment with the fewest counters. So like you want to be blocking the allies, right? Because he has +2 attack, which is pretty rough. And then if he defeats those characters, those allies, then you have to place secret counters, which can accelerate your loss condition, which is bad. And you either do this or this to get rid of it, which is like a lot of resources to deal with. Yeah, so that gets my vote here, his sword. Like, cool looking card. And then lastly, we are finally to the final 2 scenarios of Marvel Champions that is currently released, which is the Trickster Takeover scenario pack. And with Enchantress here at the first scenario, I already know which card I'm picking here, and it's not even going to be the Hypnotic Gaze. It's easily, oh, this card is so bad as well, Seduced, but it's going to be for sure Spell Blast. So this is a treasure here. I talked about this card in my review over the scenario pack. But whenever it's reviewed, if your identity has a defined trait, you choose one. If your identity has an enthralled trait, do both in any order. So when you can choose, it's not that bad because you can pick the one where she attacks you. If you're enthralled, you have to have her scheme and attack you. What the heck, guys? Like that is a double activation. So terrible, especially that scheme. Like if you're in alter ego, or sorry, if you're in hero form, she'll scheme against you in hero form, which is always nasty, and then she'll also attack you as well. So yeah, the thing with her is that every game that I played against her, I've gotten enthralled. It's very difficult to play a whole game without getting enthralled because she has so many ways to give counters to this card. Whenever there's fire more, you get enthralled, it's gonna flip over, and there's no way to remove counters. So each time she attacks you, right, you place a charm counter, and that will like continue to accelerate. So it's very difficult unless you have a way to like really rush her down to avoid getting enthralled. So usually you will be enthralled at one point or another, and then you get this when you're enthralled, very, very bad. And for the last scenario that's currently out in Marvel Champions, we have the Loki Goliath scenario, and similar thing for the Enchantress. I think the worst card is definitely going to be ooh, wait a minute, this card's pretty nasty too. The Dark Arts. Because if there's no minion in the discard pile, you place 3 on the main scheme. And the boost here, you place 1 on the main scheme for each character you control. That's a terrible boost effect, especially if you're blocking the ally. Because then you like, I love cards that do that, or love hate, right? Because it's like difficult to deal with. But then like you don't really get value from blocking the ally, but you have to add threat to the main scheme, which could be rough. And it'll be countering the ally because the character you control, because this boost effect happens before, or it resolves before the ally is defeated, right? So this could be a bad card, but I think I'm giving it to the activation card here. Stories and Lives. So whenever you swap Loki with the Ramses I Avatar Loki villain, and then if Loki the Knave or Loki the Miscreant is in play, he schemes. Doesn't matter if you're in hero form or alter ego. He's just going to activate. And then if he is Loki the Rascal or Loki the Wrench, he attacks you with +1 attack and +1 scheme in expert mode. So depending on which form you get, because he has ignored the Fading Famous here, guys. That's the flip side of the cards. But basically, he's going to be either let me see, Loki the Rascal, Loki the Miscreant, Loki the Knave, or Loki the Wrench here. And based on whatever form he's in, he's going to activate. And that is the final scenario here that we're going over here for Marvel Champions. This is just my personal opinion, just a card that I look out for the most whenever I'm playing each one of these scenarios. I think it's very, very subjective. I hope that this video brought awareness to each individual scenario for if there's something that you guys, weren't really aware of, in this scenario. Hopefully you guys are now. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of my picks. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys all in the next video.